Amanda Lamb, WRAL TV5 in Raleigh, intrepid reporter, investigative journalist, and all of that. But also the host of a new podcast, Follow the Truth. It is the story of not just James Jordan, Michael Jordan's father, his murder, but the fact that maybe the wrong guy was convicted. You can get it wherever you listen to your podcast, and Amanda joins us on the Adam Gold Show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Adam. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure is ours. Let me ask you this question. When did you become, because I think in order to do something like this, and I know it is done very well so far, but in order to do this and do it right, you have to be immersed in the topic. So when did you become interested in something? Again, this happened in 1993. When did this hit you?
You know, I actually came to WRAL in 1994, but I wasn't involved in the coverage of this case at the time. You know, I was a new, young, green reporter. I met Daniel Green, who is one of the two people that are in prison for this crime. I met him through a freelance crew that I was doing a project with in 2009. And then we just kind of struck up a friendship. We started writing, we started talking on the phone, writing letters. And then in 2010, his case kind of came back around again through a series of court issues involving the blood evidence. And I did a story for WRAL, did an interview with them. And, you know, we've been talking ever since. Mostly now we talk by phone. I just talked to him a couple hours ago. And, you know, there are so many things about this case and about this trial and about this investigation that just don't add up. And that's why our team was really interested in reinvestigating it. And really, we already had so much information because of the archives of WRAL. I mean, it goes all the way back to 93. You know, a lot of the reporters actually that covered it then are still with us. And so we just basically started looking back through our archives, piecing things together, and then kind of went out and did new investigation and added in everything that's happened in the last few years with his case. And he just filed an appeal with his attorney, Chris Muma. So they are now, you know, eagerly awaiting the court's decision on that.
Now, I'm sure you get into all of the shadiness that went on where where the body was found and all of that. I mean, how much does that play into all of this? Because there was a lot of, I don't think nepotism is the right word, but there was a lot of shadiness that went on down there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of questions. Robeson County, North Carolina, where Lumberton is, that's where the murder happened. It is a place, it's a triracial county. There were a lot of tensions back in the 90s there. You had a Native American population, an African American population, and a white population, about a third, and a third. And there was so much tension between these different groups that had been building and growing for years prior to this murder. In addition to that, the marginalized communities, the Native Americans and the African Americans, were very skeptical of government. They were very skeptical of law enforcement and believed that there was corruption happening, and there was strong evidence that it was happening. And so you have a situation that was kind of like the perfect storm here. You know, you have a black teenager and you have a Native American teenager. They are, you know, from whatever you want to say, the wrong side of the tracks. They had been in trouble before. This is a high-profile case. It had to be solved. I mean, this is Michael Jordan's father, the father of the most famous basketball player of all times. I think most people would agree. And, you know, they just had to solve it. And so here you are in this kind of sleepy little area that, you know, has a lot of issues, racial tensions, possible corruption. And they just grabbed these teenagers. They were in the car. They had some of the items that belonged to James Jordan. Let's flip them. Let's get one of them to turn against the other. And that's what happened. And so in this case, Larry Demery turned against Daniel Green, basically threw his best friend under the bus and said he did it. And, you know, that's how it went down. And again, so many questions about the specifics, the evidence, and specifically Larry Demery, his statements then, his statements in court, And he's made some recent statements that we'll get to in a later episode that you might be very surprised by.
One more thing for Amanda Lamb, and the podcast is called Follow the Truth, telling the story of Michael Jordan's father, James, who was murdered in 1993, and maybe Daniel Green in jail for something he did not do. Give me one thing that you learned that maybe you didn't know at all that surprised you.
Wow, that's a great question because I feel like I've been learning about this case for more than a decade. I'll have to say, and I think you'll hear this if you're listening to the podcast, Daniel Green is a really interesting, smart guy. He's self-taught. He learned about the law in prison. He learned about every aspect of this case. And I think one of the saddest things is that Michael Jordan was one of his heroes. I mean, he was a poor black child growing up in the South, and he saw Michael Jordan on the Wheaties box. He saw him on commercials, and in his mind, he thought, well, gosh, if this guy can do this, I can too. And he had really big dreams, and he believed in himself. And, of course, all that went away when he went to prison at 18. So it's really a juxtaposition of such an interesting character who, the expression there, but the grace of God go I. You wonder what could Daniel Green have been if this hadn't happened. So there's just a lot of really interesting character development in the podcast. We're able to really get in depth in that in a way that you just can't, in a news story.
Yeah, you don't have enough time on TV to get into these things. Amanda Lamb from WRAL TV5 in Raleigh. Follow the Truth, the podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for the time. We'll talk again.
Thanks so much. Take care.